All right, 99.9 Punk World Radio FM. You guys already know what time it is. And right here, we are actually joined by a fellow Canadian, an amazing, talented individual at that. This individual owns a record label. He owns a music production studio. This guy does literally is a jack of all trades within the music industry. We have the one and only Ryan MacIntyre right here live on Facebook, YouTube, and of course the radio station airwaves as well. How are you doing this evening?
Goodness gracious, that was a fantastic introduction, man. Thank you so much. I'm
Hey man,
great.
I'm just speaking the truth, man. You put in the work. I'm just here to talk about it.
That's amazing. Thank you. How are you doing?
Oh man, doing best I can possibly be, man. Just enjoying my Saturday night, and honestly, I've been super excited to actually speak with you, and of course, interview you as well, man. So thank you so much for just a little bit of your time.
Oh, thank you. Like your interviews are great. I love them. I'm honored to be on the list of guests that you have. That's pretty impressive, man. Wow.
Hey
Like
man,
you're
I gotta say thank you for the recognition, man. Honestly, I just do what I do for the love of music, and I don't know how I get the people I get, man. I just reach out and they say yes, and I'm just like shit. Trust me, when I get them, I'm just as ecstatic as you are.
Chicks has been one of my favorite bands for a long time. I saw them come up on your Facebook earlier. I was like, oh no way. And then Gob lit like my worst enemy. That's like on my playlist in my car. Like I listen to it once a day at least.
So
Yeah, it's
I'm
cool.
I'm honestly the same way there, Ryan. When I actually booked AJ, I just reached out to him via Instagram. I was like, oh man, this guy is never gonna reply back. 20 minutes later, my phone went ding, and I was like, all right, things are getting serious.
Oh, good show. What you're doing is great, man. It's amazing.
But I know
Amazing.
you're a busy guy, Ryan. So of course, man, I'm not going to keep you too long. But I got to take you back to the beginning of your amazing career this far, man. And I just have to ask, like, what inspired you to get into the music industry initially, man? Because you have your hand in so many different pots, in so many avenues of the industry. And I know we're going to get into more of that. But what actually got you into the industry originally?
Um, uh, I don't know. Being in a band. Um, I didn't feel like I was like even when I was a young kid, it was like it's not enough control over your own kind of career and destiny in the industry itself. And then the more you get into the industry, the more I've seen it was just a pile of shit, and it was just really bad, right? And like I don't know, I felt like I had some sort of superhero syndrome, like I can go in and fix it all with the magic wave of a wand. And now I'm like 40, still fighting the same battle, and like barely made a dent, but working on it.
But I gotta say, man, it doesn't matter how much of a dent you made. The fact is, you're actually trying to do right with the music industry, man. Unfortunately, they're not. Unfortunately, one person can't make a difference. But if we all come together and have the same visions that you do, then we definitely can make a difference, man. And what you're doing is definitely making a difference. As long as you at least make a difference within a few artists, at the end of the day, right then and there, that's still a W.
I love it, man. Like since we started Indie Canada, like I've got to work with like in the past, I'd say like 4 years, probably 500 bands, like independent, like straight out of the basement and the grimiest clubs you've ever seen. Where there's no crowd except for the other bands and their girlfriends, but they're still out there like rocking and shit. So I get to see it all. Like, yeah, it's great. It's really cool. I'm liking it.
And since we're actually on the topic of Indie Canada, I have to bring this up, man, because I've seen just a little bit about this company, and of course, you said over 500 plus bands. Was there any bands on your roster that you actually like had the opportunity to work with that you're kind of sitting there as a fan, being like, man, they're as if I'm working with these individuals right now?
Yeah, I made a video for Strung Out last year. Like Strung Out was one of the first CDs that I bought, man. Like I live in a small town, right? And we didn't have the internet when I was a kid. Like Napster kind of came when I was like 18, 19. So we had to go like all the way to Barrie, Ontario, which is like the closest city to us to get tapes because we only have one radio station and it was like classic rock, right? It's like fuck, there's gotta be more than 40 bands out there. But Strung Out was like one of the first bands that I really got into, right? And then now I got to make the lyric video for the song White Girls. That was cool. And yeah, I don't know. That was probably the highlight of like the people that I wanted to work with. Yeah, like when you get into punk rock, it's not really there's no really like famous, super unapproachable punks, except for Tom and Mark, which you got pictures of, dressed up in Harley security outfits, man. I'm wearing my concert tee, not You know that show that the one that just went in Toronto? That was the first Blink 182 show in Toronto that I didn't get to see.
Really, eh?
Every other one, yeah, yeah.
Well,
Even
I'll
the
admit I'm rocking the hat that I actually bought at I believe it was a Montreal show. I bought this one
night.
at the Montreal, yeah.
How cool was that? The Montreal one would have been nice. They with the road trip and everything. I guess you're in Ottawa,
Oh,
so close to
yeah,
Quebec.
I'm in Prescott. So Montreal was actually a day trip. We just drove up, saw the concert, drove back the same night. But I was way in the rafters for the Montreal show. What I did was I figured blow my wad on one concert and get the
Right.
cheapest tickets for the other one. That way you can at least be like, you know what, I was there. I was up
Yeah.
in the 400s, and I hate heights, bro. I was sitting up in the 400s, like tweaking. I'm like, oh fuck, man, if I slip and fall, what? You know what I mean? Like,
Wild.
yeah, man, it was definitely cool, man. But I got to say, the Mark and Tom situation, man, was actually like really cool. I wasn't expecting it, but let's just say I was the only one to actually notice them in the room. I walked in, saw Mark. I'm like, holy fuck, it's Mark Hoppus.
That's insane. It looked like Tom looked like you know that video they made from the '80s? Was it the Rock Show? But
First date, I believe it was.
yeah, he looked kind of just like that, like with the kind of '80s kind of security. That was cool. That was cool. That must have been a moment right there. Those are
I,
like,
I I still don't believe it happened, man. It happened so quickly that like I shook their hand, got the autographs, got the photo, but it happened so quickly. It was like a one and done. I have the photos on my wall, and I still say I can't believe I met my idols.
yeah, that's nuts. It's like that's probably the only punk rock band I can think of that I grew up with that like I probably couldn't approach or know. The Offspring too. You had one of them on your show, didn't you?
I had Todd Morse, yeah, the newest member, the newest bass player.
Wild, wild. Yeah, Ignition was one of the first like cassettes that I ever bought. Like way early, like right when it came out. It was before Smash came out. I bought it. Then Smash came out, and I bought it on CD because CD players just came out. Yeah, that's cool, man. Yeah, neat. I love the radio station.
And before we go to the topic of Indie Canada, man, obviously we spoke about like what artists you work with and a little bit of the come up, but what actually started Indie Canada? And of course, how can independent bands and artists actually contact you and your company and of course like purchase your services?
Well, we're on. We don't have any purchase or services for sale. We have a streaming app, so it's kind of it's like Spotify or whatever. Indie Canada. It's on Google Play, Apple Store. Um, but we pay the artist more money, right? Like so, what we did is basically I put out an album like that God Hates Us All album, and it got on an Australia playlist that was pretty big, and one in Britain, but it got like 1.7 million views or something like that, right? And then I got the check from Spotify, like the transfer or whatever, and I had to pay American taxes for one and Canadian income taxes for two, and it was just this ridiculously low amount of money, like $1,200 or something like that, right? And I'm like a software engineer, so I know how like the different ad companies like Google AdSense, just the smaller, lower end tier, kind of like same ones you'd use for like YouTube or whatever, right? I know what they pay roughly, and then I'm like equating that out to what Spotify is paying. And I'm like, that's insane, right? So then we started looking into like programming our own app where we can just use Google AdSense for my band, right? Like I was gonna just have a Ryan MacIntyre app. I was gonna just put all my shit over there. If you wanted to do it, it's there. That way I can get like 2 cents a stream as opposed to point zero whatever cents that Spotify is paying, right? So then a couple of my friends are like, "Oh, that's cool. I want to do it too." And then we're like, "Yeah, fuck it. Let's just make it a whole app where bands can like submit and stuff." And now it's we've been up for a year, July 1st. And it's pretty big. Like a band can submit the music for free for one, so there's no like that DistroKid fee that you usually got to pay when you upload to Spotify. And there's like DistroKid, like they just tried to bill me for like $35.99 in my music. Uh, I told them to take it off like a year ago or something like that. But we're able to pay the artist like 2 cents a stream, and we're on the lowest end of advertising. Like, we don't have big advertisers like Spotify does yet, right? All we have is Google AdSense, but we're still able to shell out 2 cents a stream as opposed to whatever the hell it is Spotify is playing. And the money, like, you don't have to pay American income taxes. So it stays in Canada. Like, it blew my mind that I had to pay American income tax because the music was made in Canada. Like, if anything, I should have had to pay Australian income tax and Britain income tax because that's where the streams came from, right? But didn't.
Yeah.
None of it made sense to me. So we're like, fuck it, let's just make our own streaming app and let's just bypass it. Bypass the whole middleman. Get Spotify out of there because their numbers don't add up. like once we start getting good, like that's probably why they're like a $3 billion company or something like that. $3 billion came from somewhere, right? And it was off the backs of the artists.
And I got to say, I definitely agree with you, man. Like, something does not add up with Spotify, but I'm glad an individual like yourself, that's a fellow artist that's in the industry, was like, this isn't adding up. We have to do a separate avenue, man. And I looked into Indie Canada, man, and I'm not gonna lie, man, this is such a great service for any individual. So I got to say, definitely, if you're a band or an artist, you're in Canada, submit your music, because at the end of the day, why do you want to get 0.0? Why do you want to get like a quarter of a penny when you can actually get 2 cents a stream? That it just makes sense to go with Indie Canada.
Yeah, it's not enough. And what we do too, we don't like have a set. It's like we give them like a straight up commission, right? Like 80%. Like let's say an ad plays during your song or whatever, you're getting an ad plays every 3 songs on the free account. So you're getting 1/3 of the ad, and the other 2 artists are doing it. Or if like someone buys an $8 a month subscription and listens to only your 8 songs, like we take that money and split it between, you know what I mean? Like there's no pot where all the money comes in and we say you're only getting 0.4 cents. Like we're splitting it up. We're taking what we need to keep the company going off the top, right? But we're paying the artist basically like 80% of any ad revenue that's or subscription revenue that comes up. And we're starting to get into other things now. Like we're planning a tour for the fall. I think we're in Montreal in August for a few days doing some stuff there, throwing some shows. Like we're gonna kind of introduce ourselves. Like the app's still like brand new. I think it's been online for a year, but it's got a lot of work to go. Spotify has 6,600 employees. We have 3 people working for free. We're getting there, but we're gonna do a tour and kind of introduce ourselves. Yeah,
And the crazy thing is, Spotify has that many employees, but they still actually has that many employees, that many individuals that are on their service, but they still can't pay the artists what they rightfully deserve. You only have like 3 employees. You just started a couple years ago, and you're already doing better than what Spotify is actually doing, man. So it just kind of shows, you know what I mean, what this app is going to be in 10 years.
Yeah, like it's like a co-op for the independent musician. Like a famous musician's career and an indie musician's career are completely different. Like I mean, the 0.5 of a cent for like U2, that's good money. Like they're still making their millions of dollars when they go in and record an album and release it and stuff. But it does nothing for us at all. It's pointless. Even it costs you money. Like most artists don't even make enough revenue from the royalties to pay the $39 a year subscription for DistroKid to keep it online. It's ridiculous. It's a racket. It doesn't make sense.
And also as well, man, on January 18th of 2019, you actually released the amazing 4-track LP titled Utters. I was wondering if you can actually tell us a bit more about this particular early release. And of course, is it actually still out there to be streamed or purchased today if the Ryan MacIntyre fans actually haven't had the opportunity to listen to this older album?
I think so. That was, yeah, that's more of a slower record. There's no punk rock in there at all. I had a decision to make. Because I went to a real studio, like a big one, right? Like Adam Fair at Bill and Sound. He just did the Guess Who. They did Alanis Morissette's Jagged Little Pill. Like it was good. So and I had to save up like a year just to get in there and do 4 songs. So I had choice, and I was like, and this was before I started working with a bunch of bands and stuff. So I went against my own cardinal rule. But anyways, I went in and tried to write songs that I thought would do good on like a CBC kind of platform. So like kind of slow and good. There's still songs I'm passionate about and love, but basically like sold the fuck out to try to do good with money with my family and my house and stuff. But the best thing I ever did in my life was like a year later I went back and just recorded the gnarliest punk rock songs that I knew, and though that punk rock album did way better than the Otters one. And I always tell like musicians and stuff when I work with them, I'm like, what you need to do is like, don't write music to other people or write music what you would think. Think of it like a soundtrack to your funeral, like where no one's going to listen to it ever. You're just writing it for you. And that's what I did with the God Hates Us All. But Otters was like an experimental kind of thing. I had fun with it. I wouldn't mind making something similar one day again.
And also as well, man, on January 2nd of 2020, you actually brought back Griffin Music Group, an original independent label that was actually created in 1989 by Robert Godwin. I was wondering if you can actually tell us a bit more about this ordeal, and of course, what actually made you decide to bring back this iconic Canadian record label?
I wanted the international distribution rights to Motorhead, and then one of the members died like a month after. So there was going to be no new albums that came out. So it made it like a completely that company Griffin, it got stripped apart, and it was bought out by an American company long after its prime, and it's got sold like a bunch of times since then. And it was basically just kind of sitting there in limbo, and the only thing I really had to pay was like the legal fees to get it. And that was for then the only thing that they had left legally was the international distribution rights or the Canadian distribution rights of any new Motorhead albums. So even a greatest hit album I wouldn't get that as part of the deal. And there's going to be no new Motorhead albums. But it was pretty cool for a minute. But I definitely want to bring back that's all in conjunction with the Indie Canada and the Griffin Music Group, and yeah, just trying to build something because there's nothing really out there here. It's not like when you start a band and there's that big fantasy like some A&R guy is going to come down and like give you a record deal and a big check and say here's a house. That doesn't happen in reality. Like it happened to like Justin Bieber, Nickelback. I mean, there's like 50,000 bands registered on Spotify in Canada, and that's only 2 in the past 20 years. So just trying to do everything I can to build something. Like I want to, it's again that stupid superhero complex. Like I think I can swoop in and change the industry somehow. I'm gonna keep trying. I don't care, but
And I got to say as well, man, you just getting your hands on such an iconic record label because Griffin did amazing work with so many legendary bands over the years, man. From '89 all the way up until until its then demise. It was the names on that label were just absolutely extraordinary. And if you don't mind me asking, you could definitely skip this question, but this is just me because I'm curious. How much did you actually pay to acquire this legendary label, man? Because I got to say that is such an amazing acquisition that you actually made business wise.
less than I paid for my car, and my car's a Hyundai Accent. It's nothing special. It wasn't much. It wasn't much at all. Yeah, I can't afford. I don't have a ton of money to spend. Yeah, that's the only reason is because it was pretty much stripped apart and nothing, and just kind of floating there in tax limbo, waiting for like the only reason the company I think still existed is because they owed tax money, something like that. It's usually how it goes. Like that's how Snoop got Death Row. Like Death Row was actually Suge sold it, and it was sold and bought and stripped apart 10 times. And the people that he bought it from were the people that owned Peppa Pig. That's where he got Death Row from. Peppa Pig people.
And before we move to the topic of this conversation, what is your next plan to actually do with this label? Do you plan just kind of keeping it for yourself, or do you actually plan on actually signing other bands to your label?
I would like to sign some bands to my label. I just got to get myself in a better position. It's all about money, really. Like if I want to sign a band, I need to make sure that I have like a solid, $200,000, $300,000 that I can put into that band, like some serious marketing, right? Like $100 on Facebook ads is not going to do it. Like I need money before I execute that one for sure. I know like 10 bands I would sign instantly that would just crush it on every radio. Like they would be instantly worldwide famous probably too. But it's all about that money to get them there. Like when Katy Perry puts out a song, it's like every ad on every YouTube video has her. And you can almost calculate how much like $1 million, $2 million just in like YouTube ads just to get them out there. So like basically I don't want to do it half-assed. So I'm trying to build up some money, some contacts, some experience, and then I'm going to go into that one head first for sure.
And also, I know you briefly spoke about this album a few moments ago, but on April 30th of 2020, you actually released the amazing 7-track album titled "God Hates Us All." I was wondering if you can actually just tell us the story and inspiration behind this amazing album, and of course, where can we actually buy or stream ourselves a copy of it today?
Well, on the Indie Canada app for sure, it's there. The inspiration behind it, I went to a Catholic school when I was a kid, and I don't know, the whole thing was just kind of bullshit, I guess. And when I say God hates us all, I don't mean like God like up there. Like I mean like the God that the Catholic Church invented and the ones everyone else invented, like the white beard, blah blah blah. And the reason that came about is because you always look at even archaeologists when they dig up old cities in England, you always see this giant church, and the church is full of everything, and then there's like slums all around it. And, that looks to me like God fucking hates you guys, man. Like why is and like give him everything and they give you nothing. So that I don't know. That's where that kind of came from. Yeah, I'm just really because of the Catholic school thing. I guess that was another thing. It just bugged me. It just wasn't right. It didn't make sense. Like none of the stories. Like I get it how they manipulated an entire civilization of people for thousands and thousands of years. They didn't have technology back then, right? But we have the internet now, so we're like bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. That didn't happen. This did happen. There's a lot of stuff in the Bible that's like turned out to be like true, like Samaria. That was considered like some Bible fairy tale city, and they actually found it, which is pretty cool. But yeah, this whole thing was crap, and the gods that they invented around the world, they just seem like they really hate their people because they just kind of take their money and starve them out and kill them in crusade wars, and it's just been a nuisance. I think it's the whole God thing. I think it's like brought human evolution down a few thousand years. Like they were trying to I think it would be a lot forward as humanity if religion never existed. I don't know.
And also, as well, you have actually had the opportunity to be a producer for Rogers TV, where you actually produce a television show called Indie Collingwood. I was wondering if you can actually tell us a bit more about that opportunity. And of course, what was it like actually working for one of the biggest television corporations within the country of Canada?
Well, I'm a videographer by trade now because of that. Just videography was something I want to get into. And Rogers, they have programs like volunteer programs, right, where you can go volunteer. And so I went, and basically they just let you play with all of their gear, right, like giant cameras, mixer boards, whatever you need, like, and it's all like top shelf stuff too. You can like pull out staff. So I volunteered there for a bit, learned some stuff. I pitched them a show. They said, yeah, we did it, and it was really good. It was about bands. Basically, what we were trying to do is make an electronic press kit for a band out of an interview kind of deal. So what we do is we get Rogers to like pay for the recording gear, and so we bring the band in. They do like a live song, and then we interview them, and then we show them clips, and we try to format it like it was an EPK, like 8.5-minute segments, 3 of them half hour, and then even bands to this day still use an 8.5-minute segment as an EPK. I thought it was a cool way to get Rogers to pay for a bunch of bands EPKs, and then I got to make a show at the same time. I had another show. I had several shows on Rogers. Fishing show, a nature show. There was a haunted kind of local show. Now working on a show right now, an exploring show. So I've been out in the woods for the past couple of weeks filming, getting bug bitten, so kayaking around. It's fun though. It's like Trailer Park Boys meets, I don't know, whatever exploring show. It's popular.
Hey man, hopefully you don't run into the Dirty Sam squanch.
Yeah. The other night, oh Jesus, I don't know what was growling outside the tent, but something like growled, like straight up growled. I think it was a beaver, maybe. I don't know. We're still not sure. It's unknown. It could be like a baby Sam squanch.
Hey man, it could be one of them lumber whores, or like, you know what I mean, one of the lumber whores or something like that. Well, whatever Bubble says, the lumbercock suckers, I think he calls them.
Yeah, or the hillbillies. Fuck with the hillbillies out there. No, that was something cool. I got to make a show with Leahy and Randy before just before Leahy passed there, before John Dunsworth passed. We brought him up to Collingwood to the Simcoe Theater. That was awesome. That guy was so cool. Like he didn't drink at all, eh? And like he's really in depth on his projects too. So he's like calling me every day. You can hear his like grandkids in the background. Such a fucking nice guy, man. That was tragic.
Like I even heard that too, man. He's never drank a drop of alcohol in his entire life, like ever.
Oh.
Once in his life, never had a beer, nothing. But the
And
man
like,
can go on TV and play one of the best alcoholic drunks ever, man. I will say this, and I said this when he was alive, and I'll still say it now. He definitely deserves an Oscar. I know he's passed away now, but he should
Yeah.
at least get an honorary Oscar for that performance, because nobody can play an alcoholic like Jim Leahy. Like, I'm just saying, and he's never been drunk, so how would you know how to act as an alcoholic if you've never been drunk?
No
Mr.
kidding.
Mr. Leahy was living proof.
And then Pat Roach there, who plays Randy. Sorry, Pat, if you're watching this, he shows up. This guy was on the rider like a whole bunch of beer. I think he brought a hooker with him. Oh my god, that guy parties like for real, for real. He doesn't fuck around him, man. Like he's probably even like parties harder in real life than back then. They're getting old too. Great guys, man. They're really cool. That was too bad by him. I heard they're filming. They're filming like on Sunday in Nova Scotia. They're looking for extras to play prison inmates.
Oh, so they're actually doing. They're going. I think that's what's going to be season 2 of The Boys in Jail or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, they're looking. Yeah, extras on Sunday. So I'm in a bunch of film groups, so you always see these casting calls and stuff. That was one of them. I'm like, damn, man, I'd almost drive down to Truro, like Nova Scotia, to do that. It's only 19 hours. Fuck it. Be in the background of the Trailer Park Boys. That'd be awesome. That would be legendary.
Hey, man, it's definitely something for the resume.
Yeah, that was just fun. Yeah.
And we actually have a user-submitted question here from RS70UGHC. Wants to know, what was the very first live show that you ever attended?
Pennywise in 1996, I think. And then it was a gob show at Blue Mountain, I think. Snow Jam. And then Silverchair. Yeah. I've been to a lot of concerts, man. They're fun. They're fun.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta say, Pennywise live, my God, man. I've heard some crazy stories about Fletcher, man, but I would love to see Pennywise live, man. I've heard they're killer.
Oh, we were only like 14 years old or something. Like they didn't let us in, but then they let us in like afterwards. So we got to see the show anyways. Just kind of cool because they let us in a different door. So we immediately got like right to the front of the stage, which was rad. For my first ever concert, which is cool. And I bought a shirt, but I lost it. Yeah, they're great. I love Pennywise. I haven't got to do anything with them yet, but hopefully one day. That'd be cool.
But I have to ask, man, what is next for yourself, Ryan MacIntyre? Because I know we only touched base on a sliver of your amazing career this far, but is there anything we missed, anything else you still want to talk about, touch on, or promote? Well, we still got you here live on 99.9 Punk World Radio FM this evening.
Yeah, I don't know. We still jam a lot. We haven't really booked any shows. Like my drummer has a recording studio that runs full time. My bass player's in like 100 bands like every other bass player. And then I got Indie Canada and I'm filming this nature show. We kind of just took the summer off. We're still jamming and writing songs. We're writing a weird album right now. I don't know if we're going to put it. It's like we tried to get all these indie bands that I work with across different genres, right? I was thinking like, like Linkin Park, how they made that, they just mashed the genres and it was good and it worked. And no one else has been really able to do it. So we've been trying to do something like that. We're bringing in like the top rappers, the top metal guys, like the top punks to come in. We're just making this whole mashup, and it's so. I see why there's no other bands that successfully did it. It's fucking hard, right? Like it's so difficult, but it's when you get it, it's sounding really, really cool. That's basically what we're doing in the summer. We're just hanging out at my drummer's studio and writing this really weird project with a whole bunch of different genres. We'll see what happens. I don't know.
And obviously, man, I know how to follow you on social media, but for the individuals that actually aren't that social media savvy or might just be discovering yourself, Ryan MacIntyre, right now, how can they go about following you on all social media platforms and staying updated on everything you currently got going on?
Yeah, just the real Ryan MacIntyre everywhere. That's me. There's another Ryan MacIntyre. He's in Ottawa, right? And he's in a band. He's my age, right? And plays the same kind of music, but he's better looking than me, right? He's more talented than me. The guy has the voice of a fucking angel. But Ryan MacIntyre from Collingwood or Indie Canada, if you look up Indie Canada, you can find me through there. Yeah. Ryan.
And I got to say, first and foremost, Ryan, thank you so much, man, for giving not only myself, but the radio station airwaves just a bit of your time, man. It was such an honor to speak with you, and I hope down the line we can make this happen again sometime soon, man. But for now, I can definitely tell you, whatever music you make, you have a home here at 99.9 FM. If you send it, I'm definitely going to spin it, man.
Oh, that's incredible, man. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm so proud to be on your list of guests. Like, it sounds so stupid, but I am. Like, you're literally every freaking band that I love is like on there. And then there's like Ryan right in there. That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, man, I will admit, man, there's a lot of individuals that I'm actually like still rooting to try and get. I mean, if I got to interview Tom DeLonge or Mark Hoppus or Travis, I'm not going to lie to you, man. I don't think I'd be able to do that interview because I think, honestly, my fanboy would come out halfway through. I'd be like, just a weird, like, Joker smile all the way through. They'd be like, man, this white boy's fucking crazy.
Yeah, that'd be tough, man. I haven't had that happen to me yet. Almost with Mick Foley. I met Mick Foley because doing sound for a show of his. So I didn't just like meet and greet him. I did what you did, where you actually got to like meet him and talk to him for a minute, you know? So I had a fanboy moment there, kind of. I was like, shit. And I had my kid there, and he was like 9, and he was doing like wrestling moves on my kid. That was cool. That was the only time I ever went fan. Blink would make me fanboy though, for sure.
Oh man, I think the only time I had an interview where I had to control my inner fanboy was when I interviewed Cone McCaslin. I was literally, if you look closely at the interview, every time he talks, and starts to answer a question, you'll see me almost smile, but then I'm just like,
yeah. You're having 10-foot pole on soon, yeah?
Pardon?
You're having 10-foot pole on soon?
I actually already interviewed Dennis of 10-foot pole actually a few months back. But I mean, if he's up for a second interview, I'm definitely up for it. We had like an hour-long conversation. It was such a great interview. I think we talked about pretty much everything. But I mean, if he's down for number 2, I'm definitely up for it as well.
They're playing at the Queens in September, like in Barrie. That's like the closest city near me. I'm gonna go see them. My friend's band's opening for them, so that'll be awesome because I've never seen them live before, and they were like one of the bands that I bought on cassette. That's how I know. That's how I know I'm in love there. Because if I owned your cassette when I was a kid and I get to, meet you and shake your hand, that's pretty cool. I love that. It makes me feel good.
But I got to say, Ryan, again, thank you so much for your time, man. It was such an honor to speak with you. I know you're happy to be on the list of individuals, man, but I'm happy to have you on that list as well, man, because you brought back an amazing Canadian iconic label. You have Indie Canada, so you're really doing things not only for the country of Canada, but you're really putting artists first, man. And that right there, man, to me makes a legend, bro. Keep doing what you're doing, and I'm going to make sure I send as many Canadian bands to Indie Canada as I possibly can, man, because you got something great going on here.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much. That was wicked. Hey. This is cool. We got to get you on Indie Canada sometime. We do interviews all the time. We just interviewed like 18 bands at the El Macombo like last week in Toronto.
Hey man, if you want to make it happen, you just you send me a message and we'll definitely talk about it, man. You know what I mean? I'll definitely be available anytime for you, man.
I'll message you afterwards, man. Thanks again for having me. This was awesome.
Hey man, you're most certainly welcome, man. Thank you so much again, and definitely have yourself an amazing night. We definitely shall talk soon.
Awesome. You too. Later.